Guys, welcome to the studio again. So it's day number 2 on the portrait of Neo Rauch. So I'm gonna start from where I left it. So the great thing is that, you see, I worked on it yesterday. It's already dry, pretty much. So I have to recreate a little bit my palette. So it's just the same thing, I'm still keeping on what I started yesterday, which means it's about correcting the lines, making sure that, each time I found a new information, I put it at the right place. And now I can also work more and more on the passage, so what I call the passage is I'm trying to minimize the brushwork. It's not systematic. Sometimes I like to leave the brushwork, depend on which part of the face I'm working on. This brush, I think I have another one, I'm not sure. Is it the brush I put? No, yeah, that's the new brush. So you see the difference between the two brushes I'm going to show you. The length of the hair, I can even show you here. So this is the new one and this is the old one. So the old one is shorter, so the old one works really well when I need something more harsh, but when I need something that is more gentle, of course I need a brush with softer hair. As a younger painter, I was not paying attention to all that because, it's with the training that we little by little figure out what we feel comfortable with and what we don't. So as you work, you will find your own comfort zone. So I like to work with green and orange because when it comes to this kind of image, the mix of the two colors gives me a large range of possibilities when it comes to the shades, the shadows, and the dark skin tones. Because of the way I cut the image at the beginning, I didn't use a really precise dimension for cropping the image, so maybe my image was a bit too long or too short, so sometimes I end up with a little bit of a difference, in the negative space and so on, but try to go with what you think is the right proportion. That's hard to say, the right proportions. Sometimes I use my fingers to blend the colors. So I don't like to work with a glove. So I know some people think working with oil painting is kind of toxic. First, I don't have my hands in the turpentine that much. So, you know, it's not like I have a long exposure to those chemicals. And then the second thing is that long time ago, I mean not that long ago, but if you work with mediums like the Flemish medium or the Venetian medium, in order to make those mediums, they use standoli, which is basically you take a large bucket of let me check if everything works. Sometimes I get worried now. Yeah, wait, nothing works. Finally, hopefully. So anyway, you take a bucket of oil, of linseed oil, and you go in the sun every day. You put the bucket every day in the sun until the volume reduced by half. It's going to take some time, but you know, color maker or painter a long time ago used to have time. There was no internet, there was no, there was a lot of things where life was slower. So you do that, and after a few months, you get what we call the standoli, which in English we have translated in stand oil. So it's basically a low viscosity oil. So it's still the same thing than linseed oil, but the density kind of is twice heavier. So once you have that oil, you can mix it with litharge. So the litharge is lead oxide. That's really toxic. That's deadly. Lead is deadly for the health. So basically they were mixing that and they were cooking the standoli with an onion and with the lead oxide. And when the onion was cooked, that means that the lead oxide had melted into the standoli. And that's how we were getting the black oil, which was used to create the mediums. Either it's Flemish medium or Venetian medium. Flemish medium, if you mix that standoli and that lead oxide with varnish, or if you mix it so that the Flemish medium, it's really high glossy medium, or you mix it with beeswax, and that's the Venetian medium, which is more matte. It's pretty simple to understand. In one case, we work with Flemish who have small windows because the weather is not that great, and so they cannot have large windows because physically we don't know how to make really large windows, and they still want to be able to heat up their place, so they cannot have huge opening. Or you have the Venetian medium, which is Italian, and of course the Italian live in a country where it's easier to have large windows, and they want something matte because those huge paintings, they want to be able to see the paintings, and the only way to see them is if they are matte, because if they were high glossy like the Flemish paintings, then it would be an issue. So you see the technique is also linked to the place where it's been conceived and why it's been conceived. So I work only with, I don't work with medium, but a little tiny bit of liquid. And so my exposition to lead is not only limited, I don't think I'm exposed to lead at all. So if you're not exposed to lead, then of course the toxicity of painting is much less. So when people say that painting with oil is much more dangerous, it's pretty much the same thing than painting with acrylic, because acrylic uses the same pigment. So the only difference might be the turpentine. But once again, I'm not having a lot of turpentine on my hands for the reason that I work with a piece of cloth and I'm cleaning my brush often. So it's why I don't work with gloves, because for me gloves are really difficult for me to paint with. Anyway, I'm still moving things. So you see I moved his nostril a bit higher because I felt like I put it too low at the beginning. And you see I'm building up the face, the portrait. It's not coming, I would say, magically. It's it just, piece by piece. And you see I'm locating things, not in the way that I know it's a finger or whatever. I look at that almost like an abstract landscape. And so I'm just locating things in this abstract landscape. Like if I was painting mountains and valleys, I'm trying to forget that I'm painting a hand. The reason why I'm trying to forget I'm painting a hand is because I don't know how to paint a hand, it's too complex. While a landscape with kind of an abstract landscape with valley and mountains might be a bit easier. So I'm making things easier for me, for my brain to understand what I'm doing. Because of course painting something like this is tremendously complex. So by trying to rely to things with the most simplistic shapes really helps to be able to paint something like this. And once again, even at that stage, I mean, it's from the beginning to the end, you need to be able to move everything. You need to be able to question what you've done and fix things. So it's about, I did something wrong, I'm correcting it, and so on and so on. So it's a never-ending process of self-correction. And of course, after a while, and that's what I was explaining, when we get in a place where, of course, we're more comfortable, then things get simpler because, we kind of find them naturally. So like, for example, you see like the corner of the mouse, I'm elevating it vertically and I'm looking at it, regards to the nostril, regards to the beginning of the beard, and to the eyes. So basically, if you look at it, the eye, the pupil of the eye is around here, so it should be more like here. So by just doing those little, comparison and, mapping, I'm able to get closer and closer to the likeness. So of course it's more difficult to paint people we know, because we have a proximity with them. The thing is sometimes, I mean, it happens to me on a regular basis where, I paint someone I know, and at some point I look so much at their face to paint them, I almost feel like I've never seen them before. Like, almost like an apparition. Sometimes it's really weird. You can even do the test with yourself in a mirror, where you sit up, you stand up in front of a mirror and you look at yourself until your face becomes unfamiliar. It's a really weird thing. It's something most of the painters who do self-portrait experiment, which is basically you look at a face and you almost feel like it's not you. I really like on that portrait, I really like the harmony of the reds, pinks and the green. It's one of the reasons I picked up that painting, that photo. See, I like also the way it kind of disappears here. We have something that, it's almost like the white here gets into here and gets into the skin. So that area almost disappear as something figurative to become almost like abstract. That's something else, by the way, which is, if you work from photos, you have the possibility to really come close to the photo. You can look at it with glasses, with, whatever you need. When you work with live models, it's a bit different. You can get close to the model and look really closely, but I'm not even sure it's really helping. So, it's why we talk a lot. There's a lot of theories about painters having sides issue, like, there's the case of El Greco. Let me make sure. I'm sorry, I have to verify, on a regular basis that my camera is not messing up with me. So yeah, the fact that the vision was not corrected until, it took a very long time for people to understand how to make, glasses, reading glasses and so on. Sometimes they were using some precious crystal to create some glasses and so on. So I'm facing that problem now, and we can talk about it because it's really something that interests me, which is the vision. Because I was trained before being a painter. I can tell you a little bit about my life. I was trained when I was younger. My parents wanted me to have a real job before starting doing painting, because you never know if it's going to pay the bill, of course. By the way, any job, you never know if it's going to pay the bills. But for sure, painting is maybe even more challenging. So I'm an optician. I'm an optometrist. So the vision problem in art is really something that interests me, and still to this day, I'm still wondering if I should paint with my reading glasses or not, because I'm getting to an age now where I need reading glasses. And my brother is an optician as well, by the way. It's a family business. It used to be. And I had a discussion with him recently about that. About, because you're young, you can accommodate, you don't need reading glasses and so on. But as you get older, you have this problem where your vision is either from the distance, from close, or you need progressive. And that's a pretty interesting thing to try to see if we need glasses or not. So you see, I'm seeing those beautiful ruins on his cheek, which is not surprising because it's linked to the fact that we have the reflection of the background on his face, and so I have obviously some green coming on his face. You see, I feel like there's too much volume, and you need to be really precise when we do those little lines here, because it looks like nothing, but it's actually really important to define the shape of his face. There's always something difficult as well to do, which is the passage from the skin to the hair. Because of course it's not something like a straight line, sharp line, it's more something, in and out. The truth is that the answer is always in front of you. It's always in the model, in what you're painting. So if you look at at the model, you're going to get all the information you need. It's a mistake that some young painters do, which is to do the hair almost like something solid. At least those lines where, the hair gets into the face, all the way around, into the skin. And so you see, little by little, the portrait is coming alive. Just by correcting. You see, like, for example, there's this line here that is really important because that's really what gives him that look, really serious, really forceful. I still have to do a lot of work here. I think this eye now starts being pretty interesting. Once again, everything all the informations are in front of you. If you start painting without looking, which, believe me, happen often, where we just get overwhelmed and then our brain kind of get override, and so we start painting not what we see, but what our brain is trying to make us see, which is usually much simpler than the complexity of what we're looking at. Then we can lose the focus on the image. And that's one of the worst thing that can happen. It's we paint without looking. We paint just because we think we know. And that's usually when we lose the likeness, we lose everything, and it can become really, really frustrating. So for that series, my goal is not necessarily to do something really realistic, but more, I'm trying to do those paintings in about, I would say, 2 hours, 2 hours 30 maximum. So, it can be recorded without having to spend 10 hours to watch a video. Some of the portraits I'm doing, mostly commissioned portraits, I can spend on something that big, I can spend 15, 20 hours. And I might record some of them and put them online, but the changes are so minimalistic at some point that I imagine it should be really boring to watch those videos. Because sometimes I spend 30 minutes on a detail, and if you accelerate the video, you might see the difference, but in real life, in real time, it's not really seeable. So the thing is, once again, in those videos, those ones, I'm really trying to make things enjoyable for the viewer and understandable. The process is the same. It's just a matter of how long I'm going to spend on the painting. But either I do a really, really detailed portrait or something more energetic like this one, the process is exactly the same. It's just a matter of how much time I'm going to put into something versus the other one. Imagine, because it's the same, imagine you're painting a tree, and you don't want to paint a tree, you want to paint that tree. The same thing, you can start spending a long time, if you start painting all the branches and so on. In the meantime, you can paint the tree. It's going to look a little bit like that tree. It won't be as detailed and so on, but you can do it in maybe, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So after, it's all a matter of how much depth you want into something. I don't mind, like, for example, I love the portrait of Alice Neal. And I was doing paintings a little bit like this when I was younger, where I was spending 2-3 hours on the painting. There was a lot of energy, a lot of gesture, like dynamic, and so you can do something like this. I've done. Sometimes I do the portrait, like I've done a portrait recently. Sadly, I didn't record it, but anyway, I did a portrait of George Condo, the artist, and The portrait was done in about, the likeness, I got the likeness in 10 minutes. And then I spent the rest of the time to, getting closer and closer to even more likeness. But the fact is that after 10 minutes, you knew it was George Condo. So after, it's a matter of choices, of what is your painting? What are you looking for? We're not all look for the same thing, luckily. So depending on what you're looking for, you have to make choices. And I think art is a matter of talent. It's also a matter of making the right choices. You can have a lot of talent and not be an important artist, and you can have much less talent than other people, but because of the choice you're making that are maybe stronger, or then your work is more, I won't say powerful, but because that's the thing as well, the work we're looking at in Westerner museums are not the work that people in other parts of the world might enjoy. Like, Asian people don't necessarily like the same thing than people from France. Now the art market today is mostly dedicated to the painter, the Westerner painter, because we have the museums, we have the culture, we have the culture. Not that the other countries don't have culture; they have their own culture. But we create the culture of collecting art and making art so valuable. But that doesn't mean that someone who creates art in a small place in the world and doesn't have the exposure of major art galleries is not making something beautiful. Sadly, the quality of art now has been linked a lot, and not necessarily for the happiness of the world, to the value of the work. If your work is worth a lot of money, that means you're good. If your work is not worth a lot of money, that means you're not that good. It would be just like saying, if you offer a gift to someone, the pleasure and the happiness of the person is going to be linked to the value of the gift. No, luckily no. It's not true. It's just linked to the authenticity, the love, it's linked to a lot of things. So the same thing for art, some people are doing some amazing art and they don't have any audience. So, the art is maybe not feel as important as other artists, while it might be. I met this gentleman a few months ago, and his name is Mark. I should say his name was Mark. Sadly, he passed away. And he was in a car accident when he was 18 years old. And so he was completely quadriplegic. So basically he could not move anything, his head and so on. Could not move his hands, could not move his legs. And so I received a call from a friend who told me, there's this guy, he's painting, and do you have some time to come to see him? And so we decided to pay him a visit. And he's painting. He was painting, because as I say, sadly he passed away. He was painting with his mouse and is his work really interesting and beautiful and so on? I can tell you I was moved by his work a lot. And not because the quality of the work, but because the soul of the work. I did his portrait. Maybe one day I will show it. I gave him the portrait. He put it in his bedroom, and it was a really powerful emotion for me. You know, same thing. You know, I didn't do that for money. I didn't do for. So when you paint, always remember that painting. I mean, you know, we can sell paintings and make money, but it's often an act of love. When it's portraiture, it's definitely an act of love. Now, after you can charge for people and do portraits and commission portraits, but to me, there's always something about. It's difficult for me to paint someone I often end up loving the people I'm painting. Because I become intimate with them, I guess. So you see, I'm feeling like my ear is not at the right place. So, okay, I'm just going to move that a little bit. Once again, if you see something and it's not at the right place, at any stage in the painting, you should feel free and able to move it. Okay, what I'm doing now is something I really love, which is, so I told you about the light. You don't do the light with white. You can do the light with color. It's even more efficient, actually. And what I just done is I put some green in his eyes, and I could have put black, and it would have made his eyes darker. But because the green is resonating with the orange and so on around, I have the same effect, but even better, because the color effect is even more satisfying. And I put that color because I saw it on the image. It's not like I'm doing something I didn't see. I saw it, and maybe the way I made it is stronger than the way it is in the real image, but still, I saw it. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush now, because I feel like I'm getting into a little bit more detailed. At that point, I mean, I could still put some liquid, but I'm fine with no liquid. I like it because it gives me a little bit more of freedom. When I was a younger painter, I used to not put any medium or anything in my painting. I was grinding my own colors. So that means you get the pigment and you spend some time every day to mix your own colors. There's something really kind of romantic about it. I'm not sure it's really efficient. I'm not sure, I'm not sure we're saving any time or money or whatever. It's just part of the whole myth of being a painter. You mix your own colors, you stretch your own canvases, if you paint still lifes, you go get your own flowers or your own fishes, things like this. As I say, it's a bit romantic. It's a nice vision of what should be a painter. Okay, I think I'm getting there. I don't want to overdo it. And I want to keep that, you know, I want to keep that emotion I got now. So, you know, it's what I explained earlier as well. It's when do you say that the painting is done? When do you estimate that your painting is okay and now you can stop working on it? It's really something difficult to tell you. You know, it's something you must see. I usually say it's when the painting doesn't belong to you anymore. Like you feel, you think you got to the point where you made it. The fact is that with commissioned portraits, sometimes it's really frustrating because the client is the one who decided the portrait is over or not. I mean, if you deliver the portrait and the client say, you know, it doesn't look like me, it's going to be difficult to tell him, you know, whatever, you're going to buy it because I spent time to do it. So I don't think it works this way. I think the commissioner is always the one who decides if unless your name is so famous that you can say to the person, yeah, it doesn't look like you, but you're buying my name, not my art. Same thing, I just messed up that little red dot, and sadly I don't have a Control Z button, which could help me to just say, oh, I made it wrong, so let's go backward. That would be cool. I can tell you that I know a lot of painters would like to have a Control Z button here, just here, tick, and you can rewind the time. So if you messed up, you can fix by just resetting. Okay, you know, I think my adventure with Neo is ending now for that painting. Let me check with my mirror. So I'm using a mirror, a little mirror, and mirror. So, and I'm looking at the painting in the reflection of the mirror, so I can see the painting almost like I'm looking at it for the first time. Yeah, a couple of things. The reason why I love to do that thing, and I don't do it often because, you know, if you get used to it, then it's pointless. But I've just done it and I realized that, I think I could go a little bit narrower here. And same thing here, because it's a bit more skinny than what I've done. And then that means I have a little white lane here. And I think as well that this might be a bit too dark. Okay. So what I've done is not good. I use the same color. I use the same color here and here. It's systematic. It doesn't work, and I can tell it just doesn't work. It really looks like I'm making instead of I'm painting. Just working on his fingers a little bit. But I don't want those fingers, this end, to come in the front. I want to keep the finger, really, almost like it's there, but it's not important. Okay, so let me just finish that and we'll be good. Okay, so now my favorite part is to take off the tape. And I like it because it's a gray, and because of the green, it's the surrounding look a little bit like violet. So, okay, so this is a quick painting of Neo Rauch. Thank you so much, guys. See you later.